whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie,
And Nikisha.
where we share our love for spooky things and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. Welcome, everyone. Now we're on YouTube's like, we got to find little like emoji things now, like have little fireworks coming in and blasting. It's just more
Nikisha?
work for Brian.
Leah, I was gonna be like, that will not be happening. You get the sound effects.
We love the sound effects. We appreciate the sound effects.
You get the sound effects.
Welcome, everyone, to today's episode. We are talking about the 2022 science fiction horror action film, Prey, as described by the Wikipedia. Science fiction horror action film. That's a lot of things happening at one time. And I'm sure we will talk about all of those things happening. So, of course, this movie is based on the Predator chain, and this is the 5th installment and is the prequel to the previous 4 Predator films. It is directed by Dan Trachtenberg and was written by Patrick Eisen, and it stars Amber Midthunder, Dakota Beaver, Michelle Thrust, Stormy Kipp, and Julian Black Antelope, just to name a few. Lots of warrior fighters in this movie, all good things. So obviously we're going to be talking everything Prey, maybe some of Predator. Curious to see you guys' knowledge with the Predator chain. So spoilers, if you have not watched Prey, press pause. Go watch it. It's streaming on the Hulus. And then come back and listen to our thoughts. And Jamie, are there any trigger warnings for this movie?
Yeah, there are, a lot of deaths that happen, deaths of animals, of a variety of animals, human deaths, lots of insides on the outside, lots of detached body parts, very unpleasant. Some folks are held captive, also not pleasant. But yeah, it's mostly just like a real murder fest. So if that is not for you, then, steer clear of this one.
Yeah.
Watch a rom-com.
Or a horror rom-com, that has a little bit
Science
of death,
fiction,
lots of love.
horror, romantic comedy.
Yes. This could be a romance. The romance between, Amber's character and
Predator
the
and Prey.
Little romance going on there. Before we get into deep dive into this, producer Brian, do you have some words for us?
Yeah, sure. Just some housekeeping. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe there if you're there now. Hi.
Hello.
Obviously, find us on all social media. We are at Talk Horror Pod. We're doing some fun things on TikTok outside of what we do here. Jamie and I are rewatching the Nightmare on Elm Street chain. I haven't posted anything about that yet, but all of our reviews are coming there. And then I'm going to put them on YouTube as well. I'm rewatching the Friday the 13th chain. I haven't posted those yet, but I'm working my way through. So follow us wherever you are on social media: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at the Nerdverse Pod. Nope, wrong one. Sorry. At Talking Horror. at Talk Horror Pod.
Brian, he just produces so many awesome things.
Podcasts.
Wow, that was a slip. Sorry. I just, for the record, I'm very hungover.
Oh yeah, I'll ask y'all about that later. But yes, party times always. Hate a mistake.
So at Talk Horror Pod.
Well, speaking of things that aren't horror, I just have to say that I have continued on in my journey of 50 Shades.
Wow.
Have you guys even finished the first one?
No more time has been invested in that at all.
No.
Can't say that we have.
I would like to finish it. I will say we have not finished it, not because like it's terrible, which it is, but we also watched we're doing this episode. We watched The Skeleton Key for another episode in the future. We had friends over for a barbecue this weekend. And on top of that, we've also been watching the Freddy and Jason movies. So, like,
But we
you
also
know,
watched The Taking of Deborah Logan.
oh, yeah.
Oh, what do
Oh,
you think?
yeah. Wait, before we get to that, Nikisha, finish
Yes.
your gray.
Oh, okay. So the only thing that I have to say is that, all right, level 2 of 50 Shades. I was about to say Grey's Anatomy. Wow. Of 50
50
Shades.
Shades of
All
Grey's
of our
Anatomy.
brains are somewhere else.
It's just a mesh of things.
Yeah.
But I started the movie because I'm invested now, only because it is a train wreck that I cannot stop watching. And I know they signed up for like a 3-picture deal at the beginning, but it just seems like the second one was, all right, guys, nobody really cared about the story in the first place. Let's just put more sex in this second one. And so it was just a lot more of that. I could not even really tell you what the plot of the second one is, but yeah, so I'm curious about the third one because it seems like whatever loose ends were tied up in the second one, and they are making up like this brand new story for the third one
Really?
with how the second one ended. It's like, when those like revenge movies and they end with like someone who you can't see because it's so dark, and they have like a
Yeah.
picture of the main people, and they're like scratching their faces off, and it's like end blackout. And it's like, oh, somebody's coming after them, I guess. So that's what's gonna happen in the next
It's
one.
so
What is
weird.
this?
Because isn't
Yes.
it usually like the first one's the standalone-ish, and then the next two are the ones that are
Right.
connected, as opposed to like the first two, and then like the third one is like I don't
Random.
know.
Like it's gonna introduce somebody that's we have not seen or heard of at all before. And it's just so random.
If you're just listening to us right now, the the intensity and like dedication and engagement that Nikisha has in this chain or that series right now is a marvel to behold.
It is because it's so
I'm really glad.
bad.
I'm so glad that you got yourself into it.
Only because of you guys. Like truly,
You're
I
welcome.
never thought twice about that movie. It was one of those like I never have to see it. I never have to read the books. Like Twilight is enough for me. But because y'all said y'all were watching it, and it's on Tubi, which is also a free streaming service, everyone. So it's also because it's on a free streaming service. So it's like, why not?
Sure.
Let me get
Yeah.
a glass of wine and watch this awful movie and just laugh at everything that's happening.
Mhm.
So it was a good time. But tell me about Deborah Logan. Yeah.
Oh
Well, it was
yeah.
it was a good time.
Yeah.
We loved it. You had mentioned it, that you had watched it, and then
Mhm.
people on TikTok suggested it when I was talking about found footage movies, and
Yeah.
so we found it somewhere. I forget where we watched it.
Found the footage. We uncovered it in our backyard.
The
Yeah,
actual footage. Yes.
yeah. It was
Uh,
awesome. The acting was spectacular.
mhm.
The fact that it was documentary style at first, and so it was like very clean and well edited and put together, and then once you get to the end it becomes more like Blair Witchy found footagey, like when they're going into the
Yes.
woods and stuff. But like it was really good. The story was very good. It wasn't overcomplicated, but it also wasn't straightforward. That I won't spoil anything, you should absolutely watch this, but that one shot at the end, like really like got me. I was
In
like,
the
this
cave.
is in the cave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I loved this movie. I really was surprised at how much I like totally dug it. We had
Yeah.
a found footage evening that night.
Ew. Wait,
Yeah,
what
what
else?
else
What
did
other
we
found?
watch?
Yeah.
Dash cam,
Oh.
which we
Oh.
hated.
Oh, okay. Then I won't watch
Not for us. It had moments, but very few.
It was
Okay.
directed by the same guy who did Host, Rob Savage. Um,
Oh.
and so we were excited for it, even though we knew it wasn't getting good reviews. But we rented it, we watched it. That one we rented,
Mm.
and it had its moments. Were there good jump scares? Absolutely. Were there some good
Okay.
kills? Sure. It was very repetitive. The main character was unwatchable at some times. It was not for me, if you will. Jamie,
Mhm.
what about you?
Okay.
I agree. The one thing I want to say about Deborah Logan though is that like I think that I really like this niche, not just of found footage horror, but of like the is it some like real life either like mental illness or some other kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, medical thing that's going on, or is it supernatural?
Yeah.
Is a subgenre of horror that I really appreciate. Like it reminds me of like The Exorcism of Emily Rose, where they're like trying
Mm-hmm.
to say like, is it mental illness and
Mm.
a bunch of other medical conditions that are explaining what's going on, or is she possessed? And like, here's a whole trial to talk about it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really liked that where it's just kind of like you're getting more information, but it's still like what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But that
An-
was really fun.
Another good one like that is Relic.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched that yet. Okay.
That's a good one. You should if you
Put
liked
that on the
this,
list.
you should definitely check that one out.
Okay. I mean, there's so many. I
Ooh.
haven't seen all of the, I was going to say VCR, haha, VHS
Mm-hmm.
movies.
There's a new one coming
Yeah,
out
there's
this
another one
year.
coming out.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So now I have
Those
to, so
really
I
like
can catch
fly.
up.
I feel like they really fly under the radar, and then it's just like out, and I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta keep up with this anthology series. I also love
Yeah.
a good anthology.
I agree with that. I like a good anthology. Just give
Mm-hmm.
me some random scares. Or like the did y'all ever watch the 2 sentence horror movie or horror stories on Netflix?
No.
No.
I know what that like subreddit is. I'm
Yes,
assuming it's based on the
it
subreddit.
is. Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
So they do
That's
like whole
interesting.
episodes on it, and so they'll start off with the first sentence, have the episode, and then do the second sentence after the episode
Oh,
is
that's
Oh,
done.
clever.
cool.
It's cute.
I like that. I hope it's
Yeah, yeah.
better than the ABCs of Death, which I literally
I didn't
could
see
not
that.
finish. I think I got to F and it was fart, and I was like, I can't keep
Oh
watching this movie. This
no.
is not for me.
Yes. Also, I'm sure they could have thought of something better than farts, but okay.
I mean,
Cool.
I don't know. I guess if you die by fart, like I don't know what else there is to say about that. I guess it needs to be captured. I don't know. Not
Now
for
I want
me.
to see it just for that.
I mean, you don't have to get that far into the alphabet to get to F. So like you
Right,
don't have to
right.
invest too much time if you want to see Death by Fart. I also think they made a sequel to that movie, which like also is ridiculous, but whatever. Not everything has to be for everyone.
Very true.
Yeah.
It's a variety of things.
Hmm.
Fantastical. Well, let's get into Prey. But we need a 2-minute plot summary of this. So
What's the plot?
who's gonna
All
do
right. Whose turn is it for a 2-minute plot summary?
it?
I
I feel
think
like I went
it's
last time.
yeah, I think Jamie, I think you're up.
Got it.
God,
This is the
okay.
most fun game that we play.
It's so
All right.
stressful.
The plot of Prey in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so the film takes place in 1719 and centers around a Comanche village, specifically one particular person, Naru, who wants to be a hunter like her brother Tabe. Long story short, over time, she notices that there's a bunch of animals that have been slaughtered in very weird ways, and she's concerned, and she warns her brother. They think it's a mountain lion. She doesn't. She tries to kill the mountain lion and fails. Her brother kills it. And she still wants to take on the challenge of becoming a great hunter. So she sets off to try to find this other thing that she thinks is out there. And she finds it, and it is our predator, and it is spooky and invisible, and it kills a bear in front of her.
Yikes.
And she's very scared. And then eventually she gets followed by the other Comanche villagers who are
1
looking
minute.
for her, and they all get murdered by the predator. She gets trapped, and the predator leaves her alone. And it turns out that she's trapped by a bunch of like French people. I don't really remember. I'm very bad at history, so like I'm not going to be good at understanding what's going on here
Yeah.
in time. But they want to find the predator. So they also already kidnapped her brother. They tried to use them as bait. The predator does come, murders everyone. They escape. Then her brother gets killed by the predator. Then she's like, no, I'm going to kill you. And she does. And it's great. And I skipped over all the details because it was easier just talking about the larger story. But
Yes.
it was a good movie. I had a good time. That's part of my synopsis.
Absolutely.
All right, that's it.
Fantastic.
That's your time. That was great.
How'd I do? Yeah?
You did
Yeah,
great.
you had 10 seconds left, and then you talked about your opinion. It was perfect.
And that's the plot.
I was like, don't even talk about the beginning of the movie, Jamie. Just skip it. Don't even think about it. Don't pass
Do
go.
not pass
Do not
go.
pass
Do not
go.
collect $200.
Yes, thank you.
Fantastical. Well, obviously this movie just came out, so it is all of our first time watching this. But
Yeah.
does anyone have any history with the Predator movies or even the Predator versus Alien? Tell me about it.
We dated once.
Oh God. That is my history. We dated. Yes.
Ooh.
Jamie, have you watched any of the Predator movies?
So I've seen some of them. This isn't my franchise, my chain, if you
Okay.
will.
Yeah.
But I did see the Predator, which was like the 2018
Yes.
reboot or no, not that one. I saw see, here's the problem. They all have the same name,
They do.
and I have to click each of them to figure out which one that I'm actually talking about. No, I didn't see that one. So I never saw the original two. I know that for a fact. I saw the one with Topher Grace and Adrian Brody, which now I'm checking is Predators.
I was going to say Predators, the third one.
Yes.
Okay.
I remember seeing that because like everyone was in this movie for some reason. And I don't think I saw the Predator. And so I think I've only seen Predators and now Prey. But I know, I think that I have seen Alien versus Predator.
Okay.
And I think that's why I like generally knew what this was because that came out before the Predators came out. I like knew what it looked like. I knew like what his dealio was. I've never been. I also liked the Alien franchise more than I cared about the Predator franchise. I also felt like it was. I mean, I know they're both science fiction horror, but it just felt it leaned so much more on the action side, and that was not really what I was as interested in. I preferred I guess Alien has kind of become more actiony, but the kind like at its core just being like more science fiction horror.
Yeah.
So I know what it is. I know like what all of his like cool tricks are, which I know we're going to talk about that when we get there, but I knew that he had like, the unhinging of his jaw and his like hair and his what was I just thinking of? Oh, I guess like the three little light things.
Lasers.
The laser stuff.
Yeah.
And the invisibility, whatever. He's fine. He's great. He's whatever. But this movie actually really surprised me. I don't know, Mike. Should I talk about my likes and gripes yet?
Well, let's get into it, everyone. And let's start off with our segment of likes and gripes.
And now our likes and gripes.
So Jamie, now you can continue on.
I'm just going rogue.
Do it.
I really liked this movie. It actually completely surprised me because of all the things that I just said that like this franchise generally like has not really appealed to me at all. And so this I heard from so many people both on TikTok and like people that I know in real life who were like, this is a really good time. And I would agree with them. Like the story's pretty good. I almost was deterred actually from one of the podcasts that I regularly listen to and they weren't crazy about it. And I think part of it is like this movie is definitely a movie theater movie and it's kind of a bummer that it didn't come out in theaters. But it was a really fun time. I thought everyone was excellent in it. Amber Midthunder was really good. I guess my biggest, well, I have a few gripes, but like my
Yeah.
biggest gripe was I felt like the heavy-handedness of like, here's a prey being tracked by a predator, being tracked by a bigger predator, being tracked by a bigger
Yes.
predator. I was like, okay, I get it. I
Yes.
understand. I might not know history, but I know science a little bit more. I get it. There's always someone bigger at the top of the food chain.
Mhm.
Cool. But like it was just starting to become a little bit too much and like annoying me.
Mhm.
But so that's like my actual big gripe. My like less big gripe is like, again, because I know what the predator is, I just think that he's a big cheater. I
Yes.
just think that it is completely
Mm.
like not fair to be like, this is the predator. And I don't know, maybe it's because I'm not like a hunter and like that doesn't interest me. But
Yeah.
I just feel like it's not, this isn't like we're not watching two creatures who are kind of at similar levels both going
Right.
at it and like figure like who's gonna win. But it's like his advantage is just like so insurmountable. Of course you can't fight somebody who's invisible. Like that's not even
Right.
remotely fair. And so like and that's not really a gripe with like with this particular movie. It's just my gripe with the predator. I just find
Yeah.
that part to be like so frustrating. If your goal is to be like, I'm going to keep going after what I think is like the largest beast, the most ferocious beast, so that I can show that like I am the ultimate predator. It's
Mm.
bullshit that you're invisible. Like that's crap. And like all of the other tech stuff, again, I get that he's an alien and like, has all this stuff, but like it's crap. I think that like it just undercuts the fact that like, oh, you think you're big bad predator? Like you're a cheater. And so like I don't care what you have to say. Like I don't care if you think that you're the big predator. I disagree with you. So that's my that's my kind of gripe. But that's like my gripe with like this chain.
After
Mhm.
60 something episodes, and you've been very passionate before. I think that's maybe the
Mhm.
most passionate I've seen you about something. Um, but I will also say that
Yes.
in Jamie turns to me during the movie. We must have paused it at some point, like to take the dogs for a walk or something like that. And she said, like, when we sat back down, she's like, I just want to say that the predator becoming invisible is cheating. And I showed her my notes, and I had written, I told her invisibility is cheating. I think the
Yeah, I
Yes.
same thing. The
Love that.
invisibility is cheating. Like
Yes.
it's cheating. That's
yeah,
it.
I wrote
That's
predator in my notes. I wrote predator is a cheater. But I
Oh
will
gosh.
say the first sighting of him in this movie was really cool. It was cool to
Mm.
see him when he like first appeared. Um and again, like I think this movie was really good. I like that there was like actually a really solid storyline. I like that Naru like is evolving over time. This movie is great when it comes to, and we'll talk about like skulls and human behavior eventually, but
Mhm.
like it just felt really authentic and real. The choices that she was making were flawed a lot of the time. And I appreciate that because like that's like humanity. I want
Mm.
to see more of like people making like actual, like people can make bad choices in films,
Mhm.
but like it's one thing if it's realistic, it's another thing if it's like asinine and just doesn't make any sense, which I feel like we see more often, people making choices that it's like, what is driving you to do this? I do not understand your line of thinking. But I think
Mhm.
that I appreciate seeing her mistakes. Like the scene with the bear, I thought was great because I was like, it actually made me like genuinely anxious and nervous in that moment. Even though I knew
Mhm.
that she was going to survive, I still was like, it's stressful watching somebody like kind of make flubs and have things not go the way that you want it to.
Right.
And again, it like I think it makes it more meaningful when you get to the end of the movie where she has learned from her own mistakes in order to defeat the predator. And
Mm.
that
sure.
ultimately, I think, like really lifted this movie up. That like there's humanity in it. There's a genuine story. I was really invested in her character development.
Mhm.
And you still get like the cool action stuff where like she is fighting the predator or seeing all of these dumb French people get killed.
Oh my
I
gosh.
also
Yeah.
um so I like that this movie has Comanche language in it. There also is a Comanche dubbed entire version on Hulu, which is
Oh,
awesome.
nice. Yeah.
But the most interesting thing about this movie is that when the and I liked this because it's like
Mhm.
the opposite of what you get, historically. When the French characters are on screen, we don't get translations for the
Yep.
French. We have no idea what they're saying. And it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, of course. Like this is how we would see indigenous people be portrayed in movies all the time. And we're never getting what they're saying. So I like that they flip it. And it's the
Yeah,
same. I think it's also the same in the Comanche dub where they still don't
it
tell you
is.
what the French are saying.
Yep.
So I also just like really appreciated that. So I think I will end with those were my likes and gripes.
Yes. Fantastical. Brian, would you like to go next?
Sure. Um, I have only seen two Predator movies before this. I have seen
Mm.
the original Predator movie and Predators, the one that Jamie just mentioned. I think was that the Robert Rodriguez directed one. Um,
I think so. I
yeah,
just I just closed out all of the tabs.
Yeah, so those are the only two I've seen. I loved this movie. Predator has never, again, same, never been my chain to follow, and it's fine.
Mm.
Um, I I also think that I never really liked that it was invisible. I felt like that was cheating. Anyway,
Mm.
I really liked this movie a lot. I think this movie is beautifully, so my likes. I think this movie was beautifully shot. I think that it's well directed. I think the acting is spectacular in it. I loved the opening title card where it like pans up and
Mm.
it goes
Mhm.
into prey. I thought that was awesome. Um, Spoiler alert here. One of my likes is that the dog did not die. That was a
Yes.
big win for me. I thought this was a unique take on like a story that we've seen before. I liked all the elements that they brought to it. For instance, like this is like a deadly version of like Moana, where like she wants to explore and see things. I feel like we've seen this like Disneyfied before, or like
Mm.
Whale Rider or stuff like that, where like the female in the tribe wants to be something more than the history has determined, and she's got to prove herself, and this was a totally different take on that, but still in that realm. I liked that the teenagers were still mean-ish, but they weren't stupid, if that makes sense. It wasn't like any dumb teenagers. Like they were hunters. They were trying to like do
Right.
their thing. Yes, they were mean to her, and I don't. That doesn't excuse that, but like they just weren't like these dumb, like, oh, you're a girl, you're stupid. Like it didn't feel like that, even though it maybe was a little bit, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
and of course, I love that the Predator treats her with respect. The Predator treats her maybe with more respect than some of her tribes people do. Um, I appreciated that. And then more importantly, my two favorite lines were, if it bleeds, we can kill it. And of course, I gotta go take a squat.
I don't even remember that.
Doesn't he say,
Wait,
like, I gotta go
That was
squat?
right
probably.
before the predator murdered all of the people who were like trying to bring her back, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but yeah,
Take
some of
us-
my dislikes, some of my like gripes rather, are some of the CG takes me out. I'm not gonna lie. Some of the animal
Mm.
CGI definitely takes me out.
Oh, that rabbit running. I was like, all right, guys.
The rabbit, even the lion a little bit
Mm.
took me out. That buck or that deer at the beginning took me out a little bit. Not enough to make me dislike the movie. That's a small gripe, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I really dug this movie. I don't have a ton of gripes with it because I just really had a very, very nice time watching it.
Yeah. Okay, well, guys, like hot take for me. I just thought it was meh when I watched this
Cool.
this
That's
movie. It's
okay.
like, and
We don't
I
all
don't
have to
know.
agree. That's
Right.
the humanity of the show.
Exactly. But no, it's I mean it's really nice. I wanted to hear you guys' opinion on it first because I always feel like hearing other people talk about it, you can get a bigger or perspective on the thing, or you could just get, a general different opinion on it. And I mean, listening to you guys talk about it, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's cool. But when I got done watching it, I just felt like, okay. I mean, I watched this, it was cool, and I don't know if it had to do, which is why I wanted to know your history with Predator, because I didn't know if it had to do mostly because I've never seen any of those movies. I mean, I knew what it looked like just from videos of things, and of course, like Alien versus Predator, I've just seen what they all look like, but as far as
Sure.
sitting through a whole movie, I have not watched it. And so I was wondering if that might be a reason, but it also did seem like this, because this was a prequel, it wasn't a lot of carryover of like you needed to have seen all of these Predator movies to get all the little Easter egg stuff. And even Jamie talks a little bit about knowing what the tricks of the Predator are, but in essence, it is a good kind of standalone film. So I guess that's one thing I like about it. In with you guys talking about it, it seems like it can be just kind of like a good standalone. But the story was just, I don't know. I feel like what Jamie mentioned about it being on the big screen, maybe I would have enjoyed it more. I
Mm.
will say that I did enjoy the final fight between
Sure.
Amber's character and the Predator. And I will say that my favorite kill in the movie was when the Predator threw that net out on that guy, and then it like crushes, like the net closes
Sure.
in and crushes him. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
That's a good
Uh,
kill. That's a really good pick. That's a really good
yeah,
pick.
but other than that, I just thought the acting, and it had nothing to do with the actors. The acting was great. That didn't take me out. I think it was just the storyline. It just seemed like it was something I've seen before, and nothing that was new about it, or
Mm-hmm.
something that was interesting about it that kept my attention. But yeah. And there was just little things, like I said, that I did like about it. Like the acting was great, and um that sinkhole whole moment, that was something that definitely gave me anxiety, and so I liked the tension
Mm.
in that particular scene, mostly because that is an awful way to die, is via,
Yeah.
just like a little sinkhole. It's like, oh, okay, nope, that's, I can't do that, definitely no. um but yeah, I really think it was just mostly the storyline. It just didn't catch my attention. I just was kind of like, okay, we're here. This is a hunting movie, and it is what it is. And I could, watch something else. I'm happy I did watch this, but is it something that I would say, oh my God, you need to see this?
Sure.
Not necessarily. But yeah.
No, that makes sense.
That's fair.
That's
Yeah.
totally fair. Uh, but I have the most important question for you is the
Mhm.
Predator a cheater?
Okay, but I mean, and I agree with that. The fact that you're invisible, it's like, what? Come on, nobody is going to be able to. But
And
go ahead.
if anything, I just thought of this when you said this. If
Yeah.
anything, if you can be invisible, you shouldn't lose. But the Predator
Yes.
loses. I would never
Mhm.
not be invisible. I would go behind people and like slit their necks if I'm the Predator. I'm not going to be like,
Whoa.
I
Listen.
was hiding the whole time. Now let's fight. It's like, why even have invisibility if you're not going to use it throughout the entire thing? I'm sorry.
Yes, but then that also reminds me of Invisible Man, and then I think, okay, I mean, there,
Mm,
you can be invisible, but there are ways that you can lose, especially
Sure.
if, I mean, and I guess that also is a matter of if you're doing something that can make you be seen. But like you're saying, Brian, like if you're invisible, you'll stay invisible all the time and do stuff discreetly to where people wouldn't see, like, oh, someone made tracks in the snow. I can see where they are. Let me throw some flour or
Right.
whatever on them, and then I can see them. And you know what I mean? Like,
Like,
get
I
to
think
them,
the
which is,
Predator is bad at hunting. I think it has a lot of tools to hunt, but
mm.
I think the
yeah.
Predator is a bad hunter. Like, if you gave me invisibility and like a gun that shot out of my like helmet and like cool knives, like I think I'd be a good Predator because like I was
Mhm.
invisible. Like
Okay.
emotionally, could I like do that to someone? No, absolutely not. But like I think I'd be a good Predator because I was given the tools that this monster has. Well, I just don't
Mhm.
that sorry. I'm
No,
passionate
but
about this.
but that makes sense though. It's like it's you get lazy because you have invisibility and you have all these tools, and you feel like you don't have to work
Yeah,
as hard. And so
Totally.
that's when you get got. And that's why she got him. Because he's like, oh yeah, here it is. Also, it is interesting. And so Jamie said you mentioned something about like knowing the predator's tricks and like how he hunts. So what's the deal though with like he only goes after people who attack him, and so that's why he wasn't going after. I mean, we know that's why he wasn't going after Amber's character,
Mm-hmm.
but is that a thing in the Predator universe chain that as long as you don't bother it, it doesn't bother you moment? Like
That
what is that
I
about?
don't remember.
Okay.
Um, yeah, like I'm trying to think. I don't remember that being. I like the only shticks that I remember were like actually how he is a predator, but not that he doesn't do that. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, because then it's like, yeah, she was trapped, and he could have just like killed her. And
Mhm.
they framed it as like it's because they weren't seen as a threat. But he's not just attacking things because they're threatening to him. He's attacking
Right.
them because in my opinion, because he thinks that he can like beat them. And so it's not just
Mm,
about because like they're not going after him. He's bothering things that they're going after their own prey. And like
yeah.
he's like, "Oh, I see the wolf going after this rabbit and it got it, and now I'm going to go after the wolf." Like for what purpose? Like
Right, because
it wasn't threatening you directly.
yes. And he's not eating these things. It's not like it's a survival thing, correct? He's just killing
No, because he's
just to
like
kill.
killing them in awful ways.
Yeah, this predator is pretty
Yeah.
inconsistent over the course of this film. Doesn't follow
Yes.
its own rules. I did like the idea that because um, she couldn't fight him back because she was caught in the bear trap or whatever, or the trapper's trap. Um,
Mm.
I like the fact that like it backed off because it was like, no, I want to beat you fair and square. Meanwhile, it's cheating the whole time. But
Well, because what about the guy Raphael who like lost his leg? He wasn't
Mm.
trying to do anything. He also was definitely not a threat in that moment
that's fair.
because
No.
he looked dead because he couldn't scan him. Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about the heat scanner. Again,
Yeah.
bullshit. But he tried to scan him, didn't see him, and then stepped on his leg, and that's when he knew he was alive. Did he kill him because was the predator scared? Was he startled by this man,
by that
and
by
that's
that
why he
scream.
did it? So
Excellent
he's
Yeah.
point.
Right.
a little baby predator that just I just think the predator is crap.
I love how passionate you are about how much you hate him as a horror movie
I
villain
just don't.
Wait,
person.
I do not care for him. I think Alien is so much scarier, and I don't even remember how Alien versus Predator ends, and that's even more disappointing to me. But I would totally put my money on Alien over Predator any day.
yeah, the predator's a cheater. Um, what? Wait, we heard Nikisha's favorite kill. Jamie, what was your favorite kill?
Ooh, I mean, like that whole first scene where the guy's like, "I'm gonna go take a squat," and then those kills happen. Those are really gruesome, but I really like
Mhm.
that scene. I was like hiding behind my fingers.
Yeah. What about you, Brian?
This is a weird one. I loved when she was running through the field with the one in that same sequence. She was
Oh,
running through the
yeah.
field with that guy, and he kind of
Mhm.
fell behind. And the predator, you could see the predator running. Well, you could see the grass moving because it's invisible. The predator running through like the tall grass, and then like he kind of like the camera's like kind of far away, and you kind of just see him like pop and explode almost, and like the
Yeah.
blood like splatter everywhere. That was my favorite one.
Mm.
That one got an audible like ooh out of me.
Yeah. I mean, there are some good kills, but even the more that you talk about your hatred of Predator, it's feeding into my yeah. That's why I don't like
I'm
this
so
movie.
sorry. Yeah, this movie's
these
crap.
are these are all the things that are wrong with this. But yeah, the story's just basic, to me. It's,
Yeah.
especially because what we're talking about, the fact that the predator, there is no rhyme or reason to him killing these things other than to feed his ego, I guess, is what it seems like
Sure.
the deal
Yeah.
is. I just want to get to you because I know that I can get to you. And the way that I'm getting to you is by cheating. So here we go. That makes me the
Yeah.
best. And then playing into and I know this isn't like the super point of it all, but like playing into the stereotype of, oh, the girl, and she's already trying to
Sure.
make her way and be a hunter because she can and she's smart, but then the predator's not getting to her because doesn't see her as a threat because she's a girl, and what's she gonna do? And then she's like, all right, bitch, I'm gonna just get your head and bring it on back to my tribe. Here we go. And with that, there is a question that I want to ask in the next segment. Are we free to move on to the next one? Do you have any more in the
Yes.
likes
Let's
and
do
gripes?
it.
We have liked and we have griped.
Beautiful. Especially griped via Jamie. So let's move on to our next section. Brains. There was lots of brain blood exploding things in this movie. But with that said, with Amber's character, what's her character name? Naru?
Yeah, Naru.
Okay, Naru. Okay, one thing, and maybe I'm missing the point because this was something that Jamie liked, but I didn't see it all the way through. It was just hard to believe that her character, someone who is smart, and we know that she can hunt and blah blah blah. But in the moments where she does come face to face with a lion or a bear or whatever the case, like she doesn't get lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. She doesn't get them. She doesn't kill them. She's trying to hunt them and she doesn't. But then all of a sudden, it seems like after she sees her brother being killed, she gains all of this kind of like confidence, and she can now fight the predator that's been killing all of the other things. And it just seemed like I didn't see a through line of that. But talk to me, help me make this like a believable thing, because you touched on this, Jamie, and I guess I just want to hear more just in the human behavior aspect of it. Like, it just I couldn't see it. One thing that you did say that did stick out was her learning from her mistakes, and like, okay, like maybe, but also, can I see you like at least kill like one lion before you get to this predator? It's like you didn't kill any of the things
It's like
that
0
you
to
set out to.
100.
It was. That's what it felt like. But talk to me how you feel about those things.
No, I mean, I think that is totally fair. And I know like this is a total trope, right? Like
Yes.
they're presenting this in a tropey way. I will say for me, I not that is satisfying of like, look how far she's grown and now she's
Mm.
defeated the thing. But like I do like when things make like callbacks to previous scenes. Like that always
Okay.
like gets me very amped up. So like I got with those. Like anytime they were like re-referencing something, it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, it's fun. I like it.
Yes.
So
I'm
yeah, I
into it.
mean,
Yeah.
even if we're not seeing like her skill in terms of like showing us that she's more confident in herself in other ways, I do think that it's
Mhm.
like she can reference a moment where like she feels like she failed or made a mistake and can figure out like how can I use this to my advantage because I have experienced it. Like I've
Mm.
been through this before, and like I can leverage like using my past to inform my present is something that I talk to my clients about. And here's why we make it mental health
Yes.
related. But it's like when we use our past experiences to help us get through the present or to like help us deal with something in the future, like how is that still growth even if we haven't done it successfully just yet? And so
Work.
yeah, you like that, right?
I do. I dig it.
So again,
Yes.
maybe they present it in a super tropey way, and like we don't
Mhm.
actually see this like slow progression of it's like, okay, use the skills that you want to use for him and show us that like you can do it. And they didn't actually do it with any other creatures, but I do like
Mhm.
I like that she like she's obviously really good at using her axe, and then I like the
Yes.
progression of her like making the rope for her axe and then like falling in that slime bog, whatever, I don't know
Yeek.
what it is,
Mhm.
whatever that thing was
No,
that
it's a
she was
slime
sinking
bog. It's
into.
a slime bog.
Cool, slime bog, cool. that like the rope that she is now that she just crafted has now like served this purpose, and then it like escalates to like here's how she's also like using it for fighting scenes when she's fighting off the French people.
Mm.
That was really cool. So it's like we're seeing some things, even if it's not necessarily being used in defeating other predators, that like we're seeing that progression. I think it's still like quick thinking and reflect like thinking about how to build upon skills that she's already had.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like that's kind of what I think about in like seeing
Okay.
her progression.
Yeah, I mean, I can buy that. I also will say I do love the fact, and I meant to say this earlier, but this is just a random like the fact that it's indigenous people playing indigenous people on in this movie. I was like,
Sure.
yes, because they
Yeah.
are
Mhm.
available and they are there. Like, here we go. Here's the thing, with everything that you just said, Jamie, because my only thing of me trying to make sense of her progression, it's when you get into she's dealing with the trauma of she just saw, I mean, all these people die, but then her brother, and it's like, okay, that's really like hitting close to home. And now she is in danger and kind of survival mode. And we always talk about fight, flight, or freeze, but then we also talk about like the adrenaline of being in survivor mode. And that can kind of be an aid to say, okay, I want to survive this and I need to get out of this. So, like, can you talk to us about what exactly adrenaline can do? And I know this is more of like a very sciencey question to ask you, but just in the sense of like you get into survival mode and what can change with your body to make you be able to like by any means necessary survive a situation like she did.
Yeah, and forgive me because I was and am gonna Google it to make sure that I'm accurately representing what good old epinephrine can do for us. But adrenaline is
Hmm.
basically epinephrine, which,
Hmm.
side note, if you've ever heard of an EpiPen before, epi stands for epinephrine, and that is what is being injected into you. So it's kind of like doing a similar thing than
Mm,
like when you're injecting an EpiPen into you. Like it's tapping into the same neurotransmitters and hormones and
okay.
things like that. So adrenaline rush, that's like the fight or flight, like, rush that we get.
Hmm.
And it's our body trying to respond to some kind of thing that like we're in danger. If there's a fear stimulus, we have to either fight it or run away from it or freeze, which for whatever reason that is my uh most
Go to.
common response to things.
Yes.
Yeah, so what does it do? It's like pumping all the blood in our body, so our heart's beating faster, we're breathing faster, our digestion slows down so that the other muscles in our body can use that blood. You're hyper alert, you're very aware of like what's going on, your surroundings. So like, it's just like I mean, in this I'm imagining it's like amping her up so that she's able to like be more aware of the predator, like
Yeah.
she was like very aware of her surroundings, using her senses already. And so I imagine the adrenaline rush is like enhancing that, not like
Mm,
superhuman type ways, but just like,
right.
how much more aware of your surroundings do you become when your blood is pumping and you're just like, you're hyper alert in that moment. So
Mm,
like using that to like hear the sounds because she knows that she can't see the predator, and like
yes.
can't see what his next move might be, or being able to like predict what he was going to do. So she took his helmet at the end of the movie and like
Mm,
strategically placed it because she knew that he was going to use his little helmet arrows, which are they don't just shoot straight, they like shoot towards a particular target. So
yeah.
if the light is facing that target, that's where it's going to go. So like knowing that, like being able to anticipate things, I think like these are some of the things that I think were tapped into with her adrenaline rush.
Yeah, that always interests me because me personally, I feel like I would absolutely freeze also and just say, "All right, this is it. This is my time to go." But it's just amazing to me the people that when that hits and you're in that survival mode, when you're in any kind of danger, that those senses can be heightened enough to where you are kind of hyper aware and you can make a way to get out of those things. Where I'd be
Oh,
like,
another one
I'm good.
is lowered sensitivity to pain, which I think is like a really important key thing too.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
not even necessarily for her, although I'm trying to remember like what injuries she sustains at the end, if any, really. I don't think there was really
I
any
don't think there was any. Yeah.
that she sustained, but like just the idea of like, when people talk about like, oh, a mom lifted a car to like save her child kind of thing,
Yes.
and it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's not even necessarily that you are so much stronger, but like the pain that would be involved in doing some of these activities, and maybe because like
Mm.
the blood is like really pumping through your veins, that like you can do these things because of the adrenaline that's pumping through your body, which again is like not something that's happening all the time and shouldn't be, because like that actually can have very negative consequences. So like for those of us who struggle with anxiety, who are
Mm-hmm.
constantly being activated in this way, it actually has very bad consequences. So if you find that you are
Oh.
often being like triggered into that state, doing things like like uh I know we were talking about that burnout book that both of
Yes.
us
Uh-huh.
happen to read, which is actually literally right behind me, but they talk about
Yay.
completing the stress cycle. And
Oh,
so like what
yes.
are the things that you can do to like complete that cycle so that you're not like carrying that anxiety, that tension that is
Mm-hmm.
so unhealthy for us to carry all of the time. So like, exercise, like running, boxing, yoga,
Mm-hmm.
meditation, anything where you're able to like, you know, reconnect back to yourself and not like
Yeah.
let this continue to keep going and going and going.
Absolutely. Every time we talk about the adrenaline and not feeling the pain, I think about in Get Out when the mom like stabs Chris with that
Mm,
Oh,
knife into his hand.
yeah, uh-huh.
yeah,
He doesn't even
great scene.
flinch. She's
Yeah.
like, "Nope, all right, I'm taking you down. Here we go."
Mhm.
Super crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all of my questions that I had, and you gave a lot of great things, Jamie. Thank you for
You're
those
so
things.
welcome.
Brian, do you have anything with our brain section?
No, I just think that a lot of this, like you mentioned, is kind of like it's very basic. In a for me in a good way, like it was just like a simple
Mm,
story. It did feel like something like a heightened Disney princess mixed with like an animal attack movie in some ways.
yeah.
Um but yeah, just the Predator's a cheater.
Yes.
You know,
That is going
I
to be
have
the,
no
the title
brains.
of this episode.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
totally.
yes. Uh Dang it. What was I going to say? I forgot. Oh, I will say that as far as human behavior, there wasn't a moment where I was like, "Oh my gosh, why are they doing this?" or
Yeah,
"Why did they make this
that's
decision?"
totally true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I never for once was like, oh, like they're splitting up to go into that dark cellar or cave or like
Right.
never any of that. Like, I think that also goes with what I said before in terms of like that no one of them felt like nobody felt like a dumb teenager. It seemed like they were
Yes.
all making the right decision for who they were in that moment.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
with good
The
like
only
hunting
dummies I would say
tactics.
were the French.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, you're what the
Not that I
French
think
call
French are dummies.
no
No,
les,
in this
Les
les
this
compétents.
incompetents.
movie.
But it's like, why? Again, it's another trope of like, why are you trying to capture this thing that like you just shouldn't be
Yeah.
messing with? Just like steer clear. I mean, like now, because now you've all made yourself targets, and like,
Exactly.
he's going to cheat and he's going to kill you because you cannot see him, and he's using heat-seeking, little arrows to get your faces, or those balls that will follow you and explode. Like you're this is not going to
Wait.
end well for you. I just
Yes.
don't just leave him alone.
I will say that actually that moment, I was like, "What the hell are y'all doing? This thing is beeping. Shit is coming out of it, and you're just standing
Staring,
there
not
staring at
moving.
it, not moving at all." It's like,
I
What
will.
are you doing, guys?"
I'll argue that like this is taking place in like what would we say like 1719.
17, 19, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, in like the northern Great Plains. They've never seen technology like this before. Like they've like what is like maybe we should run, but I can't look away from that. Like I agree and disagree at the same time.
Jamie
Nope.
doesn't buy it.
Get out. Nope. Get out. That
Nope,
was my
please get out.
responses. Two other
Yes.
movies.
Which also the heat seeking thing. Did y'all ever watch Tremors? That was that movie that I never should have
Yeah,
watched as a kid.
I've seen
but
Tremors.
Yes.
It's the same like heat seeking situation. It's like, which was really cool with the flower thing that makes your whole body cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a cool moment. So it's like he can't see you either. So you can also try to be quote unquote invisible since he's cheating as well. So Predator's always cheating. Hate it. Fantastical. Great. So should we go on to Rotten Tomatoes?
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
Let's do Rotten
this-
Tomatoes.
Yes.
All right. What do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes? What's the score? What's the critics' consensus? Nikisha, we'll start with you. What do you think the critics' consensus is for this? I'll tell you what the critics and audience stuff is, but we're just guessing the critics' consensus. What are you going to say?
I'm going to give this a 72.
All right. Jamie?
I'm going to say that was like very close to what I was going to say. I'll say 69.
Well, you're both very wrong. This has a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Whoa!
Oh, man. If you're listening, subscribe to YouTube right now just to see Nikisha's face.
I don't buy it.
Has a few words for these critics.
I don't buy
All right. Critics' consensus. Okay, so the audience score is 79%.
Okay, closer.
But so this is what the critics said. They said the rare action thriller that spikes adrenaline without skimping on character development. Prey is a Predator prequel done right.
Okay.
I think that's correct. It's just like how much you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the number doesn't compute with like what they said.
Yeah.
But I agree with what they said.
Yes.
And then it should be like a 79 with that
All right.
consensus.
So I think you're both going to agree with the audience. What the audience says. The audience says if you can look past some dodgy effects, Prey is pretty much back to basics Predator installment fans have been waiting to see for years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think in a chain that is like pretty mediocre, this is probably the best of the bunch.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Should we do the 4 S's?
Yes.
Skull, scare, shakes, and suggestions. The Talking Horrors 4 S's.
All right. The 4 S's are skulls, scares, shakes, and suggestions. Skulls is how we would rate this movie's take on mental health and human behavior. Scares is how scary was it. Shakes is how much you're going to shake it off. Will this be in your mind or you just forget about it? And then suggestions, we'll think of some movies that would pair with this in a Walmart 2-pack. Jamie, let's start with you. Let's go through the 3 S's first for you.
Sure.
What is your skulls, scares, and shakes on Prey?
So my skulls, I gave it the 6 because again, I feel like for the most part, people made a lot of choices, even mistakes that generally made sense, felt realistic, were in line with like what other human people do. With a few exceptions, like the French people who wanted to capture a predator for, silly reasons.
Yes.
So a 6 from me. Scares, I gave it a 4. Mostly because I think I was underestimating how scary I thought this movie would be. And again, not super jump scary, but there were definitely moments of tension. I'm also not like a big animal attack horror movie person. So like some of those kills and stuff like did freak me out more. So a 4. Shakes, I'm gonna give it a 3. You know, this movie, it was fine. I'll think about it for a little bit. I might recommend it to some folks, but I don't think it's really gonna, plant a seed in my brain for
Cool.
too long.
Yeah, for sure.
Nikisha, what about you?
Skulls, I'm gonna give it a 3. People made some good decisions, but still, it was just, yeah. It didn't focus a lot on human behavior and mental health, so that's also kind of what I base
Sure.
my score on too, is how much it talks about those things. So 3. Scares, a 1. I wasn't scared at all, even with like how it was bloody, but it still wasn't like, oh my god, this is crazy.
Sure.
And Shakes, I'm gonna give it a 1 as well. It's just it's a 1 and done for me.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a 5 for Skulls. I think it tries to do some things, kind of gets there, doesn't for the other stuff. It's stuff we've seen before. Good decisions are being made. Scares, I'll give it a 2. Wasn't scary, but definitely some of those kills made me go, oh, or something like that. And then Shakes, it's a 5. I feel like it's a good movie to suggest if somebody's into that thing. I think like I'm gonna if anyone asks me what Predator movies I've seen, like I can now add it to that list. This, it's interesting. I know that this movie apparently has a lot of Easter eggs from other movies, since this is kind of a prequel and things of that nature. Obviously, things we did not catch, nor are we trying to talk about in this episode.
Yeah.
But even so, like, I'm 50-50 on if I even wanted to watch one of the other Predator movies. I would only really watch them if they were easily accessible. Like on streaming, which I think some of them are, but yeah, so I'll give it a 5 just because I enjoyed it. But like, yeah, okay, I enjoyed it. Moving on.
Yeah, for sure.
So who has some suggestions?
I mean, I'm gonna just be basic. I thought, of course, just watch the OG. I didn't realize that Arnold Schwarzenegger was in the
Oh
first
yeah,
Predator movie. And it has an 80 on Rotten Tomatoes. And so I thought that would probably be the highest rating out of all of the Predators,
sure.
but the prequel is. So,
Here we are.
okay,
I love
cool. Here
that
we are.
strategy. I love that strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is the OG is probably going to always be the best. So if you haven't watched the OG, like watch the OG. I
Yeah.
might watch the OG if I could find it easily. Yeah.
Sure. Jamie, what about you?
So I have 2 suggestions. As I mentioned before, I prefer the Alien franchise. So I went with a more recent installment of that chain, and am suggesting Prometheus.
Okay.
Ooh.
I also was thinking about another movie where there are strong female characters and other tropes involved. But I also would suggest The Descent.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's a good one. I mean, that's a
Good
great
stuff.
movie.
Yeah.
I'm going with Jaws.
Yes. Animal
I mean,
horror.
animal horror, like the idea that like it's the great hunter of the sea. It's under the water, so it's like a different type of invisible, that kind of stuff. So I'm
The
going with
So are you
Jaws.
saying
type of
that
invisible.
Jaws is a cheater?
No, Jaws is not a cheater. Definitely not.
That's funny.
Cool. Excellent.
Fantastic. Well, I think that wraps up our episode of Prey. Is it The Prey or just Prey? It's just Prey.
Just pray, yeah.
Just pray.
Okay. Eat, pray, love. Yes, of our.
I was
of our
thinking the
episode.
same thing.
Yeah, eat, pray, love.
Eat, pray, love.
I mean, all
Story
those
of how
things
the
happen.
predator finds
Oh, I
his way.
guess no one eats in this one, really.
No.
Well,
I mean,
the snake tries to eat the mouse, and the
Right.
wolf
Sure, I
tries
guess
to
like
eat a
just
rabbit.
food chain in general is the eat.
Yeah.
I guess
Is the
pray,
eating.
obviously pray, and then they love each other. They're a tribe. She loves that dog.
She
Oh,
loves
the
that dog, and that dog
dog.
stayed alive.
Oh.
So absolutely, yes. Actually, I was in an Uber, and they the DJ was talking about how he just watched Prey, and the fact that he loved it solely because the dog didn't die, because he had so much anxiety about if the dog was going to die in this
Sure.
movie. So I'm also happy that He didn't die. Good old boy. He
Mhm.
was a good boy. Fantastic. You can follow us on all of the social medias at Talk Horror Pod on our Twitter, Instagram, and all on the TikToks, and follow us on the YouTubes. See our faces, see us talk about all of the things. And Brian, where can they listen to us?
Yeah, you can listen to us wherever you find podcasts. So whatever podcatcher you have, we are on there. Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. Rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And thank you. Brian, I'll end it with your quote, one of your quotes from the beginning. If it
Yeah.
bleeds, we can kill it.
Yes. Oh, I thought you were going to say, I got to go take a squat.
Oh.
Oh,
I didn't like
boy.
that one as much. I like the bleeds
No.
one though. That's a good one. It's
Bye.
a good move. Thanks, guys.
Bye.